Hello, I'm Matt Silvernail, the Creative Director here at DSPM Consulting. A key issue that many businesses are currently experiencing is bullying in the workplace. This presentation is going to be an in-depth look into this issue, the problems that it causes management and companies as a whole, as well as recommendations for preventing the occurrence of workplace bullying. As with any other issue in life, in order to find a solution, you first need to define the problem. So what is bullying? According to Michigan Technology University's affirmative programs, an office dedicated to developing an equal opportunity environment for its employees and students, bullying is an intentional, repeated pattern of offensive, insulting, threatening behavior. It is an abuse which makes the recipient feel upset, threatened, humiliated, or vulnerable. Many of us, at one time or another, have seen someone bullied, in high school or even on television. But what does bullying look like in the workplace? The next time you're at the office, be aware of the behavior of those around you. Here's a list of some behavioral traits that a bully may have. Distorts the truth and reality, charming in public, two-faced, blames others for errors, ignores and avoids hearing anyone else's perspective, has a need to control people, makes inappropriate comments about the appearance or lifestyle of others, or takes credit for others' work. If you experience or witness any of these behaviors, there are certain steps that you should take. Before we explain this process, though, it is important to understand the possible outcomes if you choose to ignore the signs of a bully. Some of the possible byproducts of bullying in the workplace include staff turnover and absenteeism, low employee morale, poor work output or loss of productivity, legal action, workmen's compensation claims, or poor customer service. All of these outcomes negatively affect a company and inadvertently cost it money.
I had a bullying boss, and as a result, I was humiliated, I felt exploited, I felt undervalued and underrated, I felt powerless.
Everyone has heard of the school bully, the kid who terrorizes students in the halls and on the playground. But just like the rest of us, bullies grow up and they get jobs.
The boss targeted me, I think, because he was threatened by my competence.
A recent post on the New York Times Well blog generated more than 300 stories of workplace aggression. For many, the bullying was so severe that victims became depressed and quit their jobs.
Bullying in the workplace is repeated, health-harming, verbal abuse, psychological abuse, work interference, work sabotage.
I was prevented from having a telephone. Here I was the producer of a television show, and I did not have a telephone that I could use to do my job. I had to use a payphone in the hallway outside my office.
Surveys show that as many as 1 out of 3 workers may be victims of bullying in the workplace. Eye-rolling, belittling comments, and excluding workers from essential meetings or job functions are common tactics.
You know you're doing a great job, and the fact that you're doing a great job is the reason that you're being harassed. I mean, it's kind of surreal.
37% of Americans have experienced bullying in the workplace, and that represents 54 million people.
About 40% of the time, the workplace bully is a woman, and she usually picks on other women, just like the boss in The Devil Wears Prada, a character said to be based on a real person.
Take a chance. Hire the smart fat girl.
We were very dedicated to our jobs. We didn't want to just give up and walk away. We wanted to save our jobs.
In most cases, the only way that you can survive it is to leave the job.
One of the reasons I left was I did not want to endanger my health anymore. I couldn't sleep. I felt nauseous. My stomach was in a knot. I had to put one foot in front of the other to walk into the workplace.
Bullying has been going on forever, but there are a lot of things that have taken place historically that we've lived with, and a point comes in time where the time has come where we actually need legislation to make the world a better place.
Legal experts say current laws aren't enough to protect workers from bullying on the job.
We think we're at the same place where the civil rights laws were right before they were passed. We feel we're exactly where sexual harassment law was right before that came into being a law.
And efforts are underway in several states for additional legislation to address the issue. I'm Tara Parker Pope for the New York Times.
Nothing can compensate for what I lost. I lost years and years. You don't get those back in a lawsuit.
Now that we understand what bullying is and the negative effects that come along with it, let's take a look at some of the reasons that people bully. They feel inadequate. Bullying others makes them feel special. They have observed others doing it. They have been bullied themselves. They feel entitled to do it, and they can get away with it. It is also important to know the other side of this interaction, the reasons victims allow bullying to happen. Most of the time, they are not appropriately assertive. They feel helpless and inferior. They feel others will not like them if they stand up for themselves. They feel pushing back will only make matters worse. They are used to being treated this way, and they do not believe their superiors will support them. Now that we've asked why do people bully and why do victims take it, it's time to ask a more important question. Workplace Bullying Institute held an online instant poll in 2012 in which it asked 658 respondents, why does bullying in the workplace happen? The top 3 most chosen reasons among 12 possible responses in total were employer-focused. The top choice by 21% of those polled was, bullies are not punished and thrive. The second choice at 15% was, laws to stop it are either absent or too weak to be useful, followed by, no one in the company, agency has the will to stop it, with 13% of the total votes. This data shows that employers mishandling the issue of workplace bullying is the main cause of its existence. So what can a company do to reduce the risk of bullying in the workplace? Employers should create a zero-tolerance anti-bullying policy. When brought to your attention, address the bullying behavior immediately. Reporting it should be strongly encouraged. Complaints need to be taken seriously. Hold awareness and prevention sessions for everyone on what bullying is. Ensure that managers play an active role in what goes on within their departments. Encourage open-door policies, and clearly demonstrate commitment from the top about what is and what is not acceptable behavior. Sarah Tracy, Director of the Project for Wellness and Work Life at Arizona State University, analyzed narratives told by bully victims and developed 8 tactics that make for a story that human resource managers will take seriously. The first tactic is to be rational. Targets who expressed events in a linear fashion were most likely to be taken seriously. Write out the story ahead of time, starting with the critical incident, followed by a narrative that pinpoints 3 to 5 bullying episodes. Practice telling the story to a friend. Bring an outline of the story into the meeting. The second tactic is to express emotions appropriately. Overly distraught statements could signal that the target is crazy and emotional problems are the cause, rather than the result of bullying. Envision yourself as a journalist talking about another person. When you practice telling the story, focus on using a calm voice and confident body language. Pause and take breaths when telling the story to manage emotions. Create a vivid image of the abuse without becoming too distraught. Don't cry, shake, or raise your voice. Third, provide consistent details. Tell and retell your story with vivid details that are consistent. If possible, document the details of abuse as they occur. If no record exists, sit down with a calendar and piece together your memories of each incident. Ask coworkers who witnessed the bullying to recount their memories. The fourth tactic Tracy suggests is to offer a plausible story. Reference published studies that verify workplace bullying. Use familiar metaphors such as being scolded like a child to describe your experiences. Don't dwell on outrageous events, even though they are true, that others likely won't believe. Fifth, be relevant. The only relevant details are those associated with the bully's behavior and somewhat the target's behavior. Focus on the bully's actions. Discuss your case with other targeted employees so you can provide a united front. Encourage supervisors to talk to other employees who have been bullied. Avoid talking about extraneous or exaggerated details. The sixth tactic is to emphasize your own competence. The fact that you are a competent employee will strengthen the case that the bullying is not your fault. Highlight career successes. Detail efforts made to end the abuse. Explain how workplace performance is hindered by the bully's behavior. Do not agree with the bully's negative characterization of you. Tracy states the seventh tactic is to show consideration for others' perspectives. Credible bully victims demonstrate they had attempted to understand and even tried to have sympathy for the abuser. Acknowledge that the bully may not realize the negative impacts of his or her actions. Indicate that you realize the events you describe may be hard to believe. Explain the negative effects of the bullying on others and the workplace as a whole. The eighth and last tactic is to be specific. Using lots of vague pronouns such as we, they, and he, she can muddle the story and hamper concrete changes. Use specific concrete language. Identify the bully and explain that person's behavior clearly. Offer specific dates, times, and names. Ask if the listener has questions or needs clarification. So remember, if you need to report a situation, use these tactics to make human resources take your story more seriously. Be rational. Express emotions appropriately. Provide consistent details. Offer a plausible story. Be relevant. Emphasize your own competence. Show consideration for others' perspectives. And be specific. Bullying cannot be stopped by employers alone. There are actions employees must also take to help reduce the occurrence of this issue. Here are some of the steps you as an employee should take. Identify what is going on. Recognize that you are being bullied and are not the source of the problem. Understand that bullying is about control and power, not performance. Document in detail occurrences with dates, times, places, what was said or done, and who was present at the time. Work with your employer or trusted advocate to solve the problem. No one should have to deal with the bully in the workplace. If you see or experience this type of behavior, do something about it for yourself and those around you.